In this lesson, we will develop a block with featured products. To do this, we need to accomplish a few things. First, add the platform option. And second, highlight products as favorites. If it were a simple post type, we would have to register a meta field where we would highlight a specific post as featured. But in WooCommerce, there is already functionality for such purposes. That is, if we go to the page with the archive of all products, we will see here is a column with stars. With this star, I can make a product featured. In our layout, there are 6 featured products. Let's mark 6 stars. All done. We have marked 6 stars. Next, we go into the product. Now, we need functionality to display platforms. And not only platform, in fact, for a product with a game, we have many different meta fields, so we will register them. And let's see where we will add them. For WooCommerce, there is a separate section with tabs, or where WooCommerce itself adds its fields. In principle, if we register a simple meta field, it will go into this area, or into this one. We can register separate windows. Such classic meta boxes, or we can set our tab here and add our fields to this tab. I will now demonstrate how to set a tab here and add fields, because we will use a simple classic field for other sections, and we have done them many times in other courses. Let's move to the editor. The first thing we need to do is create a new branch. I run the command git checkout bay. Featured products block. Before this, of course, I merged the previous branch and downloaded all changes to the local machine using git pull and git fetch. We have a new branch. Now let's deal with the files where we will write all our functionality. Let's go to the plugin. Remember, we have Core Game Store, and we recall that we created an include folder, and here we have the file Games Core. If the project is small, you can put all the functionality related to games into one file. But our project is complex, so we need to divide it into logical parts. And if we wrote in this file, I see 3 parts related to game search, then we rename it to games.switch.php. Therefore, we load it, and here we also change its key. And for our new data, these will be data for meta boxes. That is, everything we have here, all these additional fields, even this field, all these fields, these are all meta boxes. We can name it thematically, but also in the directory as ing.games.metaphp. And we will open php.tech. That's it. Essentially, we already have a file where we can write all the functionality specifically related to meta fields for games. And it is recommended to divide all functionality into thematic files, as it will be convenient for you to work with the project and for future developers who will have to deal with it. Don't forget to also load it in the main plugin file, the newly created file. Let's return here and think. So we said we are going to add a new field here, clarification. A new field, a new tab, so that we can add new fields in this tab. For this, there are special hooks in the framework that allow us to attach. I will use the function from filter and hook onto the hook in the product data tabs. That's where the information for all these tabs is stored. And I will attach my callback, which I will call add game store tab. Next, I will create this callback. Since this is a filter, my callback should accept data, do something with it, and return it at the end. Therefore, we must pass tabs here. I will receive an array with data regarding these tabs and add all my own. So always, when you write add filter, keep in mind that you need to pass something to the callback. And consequently, I now have a variable tabs here, which is an array. And in this array, I will refer to the field Game Store. That is, I am essentially creating this field now. And this is a multi-dimensional array. So I create and add the following parameters here. So the parameter label is the name. I will specify Game Store. The second parameter is the ID of this array, the key, target. As the ID, I will set Game Store product data. Next, the third parameter is class, which will determine when to display this tab, because notice our product has several types. Simple product, variable product, and when switching to variable, other corresponding tabs are added. I will now add a class for simple product and for variable product. So, for these two types, I will display this tab. Therefore, if I want to specify two types, I need to set it using an array. And I set the classes show if simple and show if variable. And the last thing I will set is the priority. Wonderful. And don't forget, again, I repeat, this is a filter. I pass the data, I make changes to this data, and I return it. This variable tags is already with changes, and essentially the camera passes me this list. With my filter, I add a new item and return it back to the camera, and it will not display all the necessary list. Let's refresh the page. It seems we have written and connected it. So we see a new tab, Game Store, appears. Wonderful. Next, we need to fill it with fields. For this, we will need another hook. But now we call it using add action. We hook into WooCommerce product data panels. And our callback, I name it add Game Store tab content. I make a callback. And here we need to generate these fields. That is, meta boxes should be created here. A global post variable is not required. I will need to create a layout. We will use this to display these containers. So, for the developer, we generate carefully. Here is what we said. That is, I set the target, then I copy-paste it to avoid mistakes, copying it further, the classes. We set the classes that are used directly in the layout. I just know them to apply the necessary styles. This is the panel, and this is the WooCommerce Options panel. So, if you don't set the classes, the layout will be incorrect. If you don't set the ID, it won't know when to open this container. And inside, let's do it like this. Opening, closing. Inside, another div container, class all options group. So everything is fine. Create. Now we need to generate meta on fields. In WooCommerce, there are already certain functions that it uses itself. For example, for a text field, you can directly use WooCommerce functions and not generate a lot from scratch. Because if we were to write this registration ourselves, I usually don't write the meta as it consists of 3 steps. The first step is to generate HTML. For this body, the second step is to register the meta box itself. And the third step is to save this meta box. Therefore, I usually generate them through ChatG5 and copy-paste them into the project. But in the directive, for example, there is a function that will generate a simple text field. If we need a text field, it will be required in principle, because for our open product here, you see, there is additionally mere publisher, but let's create a simple text field for publisher. Since we are in this section, let's use the WooCommerce function, VP, text input. And we only need to set an array with parameters, and it will automatically generate everything. This array should consist of an ID. So, the name of the meta box always starts with an underscore. This is not mandatory, it's a recommendation. I specify Game Store Publisher. Next, label. I specify publisher. By the way, such strings can be done through translation, that is, through the translation function. If the site will support multiple languages in the future to support internationalization, we can do this. Thus, setting only our text domain, I don't remember, here it is for Game Store. Specifically, the text of this plugin, the next field, is the description of this field. Let's also through the next field, description type. Is a Boolean value, let's enable it. Specify true. And some kind of hint placeholder. Example. We have Ubisoft. In my opinion, there. Everything is great. That is, this function will generate. Now the body will simply generate a piece of HTML and insert it into our field. Let's take a look. It's updated. We go to the Game Store tab, and here we see a new text field. We see a hint. When we hover over it, we see the description. Therefore, if you need to generate such fields that already exist in WooCommerce, know that this possibility is available. For implementing this functionality, I think we should do it through checkboxes. And if the checkbox is selected, then consequently the platform is supported. Xbox or PC or PlayStation. That is essentially, we will have 3 checkboxes and a multi-checkbox, some kind of hybrid field type. We'll figure it out now. I don't know if such a field exists in WooCommerce, but I will create my own now. Something similar to a hybrid field for implementing this option. Let's add a comment and name it multi-checkbox file. Continue. This is a simple text field. And for my field, I will need label this one. Let's add it. Let's see what class it has, meaning form file. Next, inside, we have label. And specify the platform. Also, let's probably make the platform PlayStation ready as well. That is, we will follow the recommendations. We do not set a string value, but rather pass it through a function. For this, we use concatenation and insert it here. Like this. And the only thing is, we won't close it here. We will close it a little later. Because in the body of this paragraph, we will write input, and we will need 3 fields. We have 3 types, so we will create a variable and place these 3 types in an array. So, the first type and in the box. Second type, PC. Third type, PlayStation. Next, I will now generate 3 checkboxes in the array. I will go through the array platforms, and for each platform, I will use a similar field generating HTML, but for the checkbox type. Therefore, I call the WooCommerce function VP checkbox and set parameters through an array. So by the key ID, I will generate an ID for it. The ID will be generated in the following way. So once again, we start with an underscore. This is the ID for the meta field. I specify the keyword platform, but I will also add the name of the platform itself to it. And essentially, when we go through the loop, for the first platform, its key for the meta box will be platform Xbox. The only thing is we have uppercase letters here. I would also make everything lowercase, so we'll pass it through a function. So we convert the string to lowercase. Using the the function str2 lower will create for Xbox and for the platform Xbox, for PC, for PlayStation, and so on. That is, it will be unique and dynamic like this. We loop through, and now let's not forget to continue. The second parameter is the label. Here I can simply show the platform's name. Description. I can set something like available on Xbox, on PC, on PlayStation, so we'll use the following construction. And pass the platform. So let's do it. Let's look at the implementation visually. We enter the game store and see consequently our platforms, meaning we can select specific ones. Maybe this word can also be enclosed in text strong. To highlight it additionally, notice? Now, the next moment, if we write something here, select something, save. Nothing will work for us because these functions just generate HTML bullet, generates insert such HTML tags. That is, if we reload and log in, everything resets. Nothing is saved. For this, we need, as it were, a third step to create a handler for saving. Whenever we work with meta fields, essentially there are 3 steps, always. First, register the location. Here, for WooCommerce, we do it this way. For classic meta boxes, we register a meta box. Second, HTML for the fields, which we have done. And third, it's specifically saving. Therefore, here we attach another hook, add action. This time on WooCommerce process product meta. I will create my function, call it save game store tab files. Create a callback. Then this callback will receive the post ID. Then I pass it and do the following. Perform a check. If a global post variable exists, with this key, that is, essentially forms are created for these forms. A field with this key is created upon saving. This form is set and we receive it through the post here. In principle, if it exists, it means we can save it. So we call update post meta and save it for the post, that is, for the post from which it came. Next, we specify the key of this meta key, which is the same, essentially the key. We use it as a parameter in the second position. We pass this key, and in the third position, we set the actual value. This is the value. But we don't set it openly. We apply some basic protection, passing it through the sanitize text file function. That's it. Essentially, this line will save the value for the publisher meta field. Now, for the second one, for the checkbox, we essentially need 3 lines, like this, right? But we can optimize and not write it like this. 3 times, but also pass it through a loop. Therefore, we will have our variable with platforms. Next, we will pass it through a loop. We will take the value that is assigned a variable. Let's call it checkbox value. We will perform the same check if in the global variable post by the key. The key, we have the next platform. Let's copy it directly from the variable. So we won't make a mistake with the quotes. Essentially, here we are checking if the checkbox we insert returns true, then it will return a corpse to us. In such a case, we save it in the database, meaning the platform is supported. Otherwise, we save it in the database. And consequently, we call the update post meta item for the current post. For this key, and we save this value emphasizes, yes, here it's redundant. So we remove the extra character. Let's look at the saving now. We'll go to the tab, write something. Set it to 2 here. Let's make it 2. And save. So we have an error. Let's see. Where the error is, so fuck. We passed checking, and with checking, most likely this set gave us the error. We fix it. Update here. Once again, add fields. And these fields have been saved. Let's open another post then and check for another post. Even despite the error, the update post function worked. Interesting. Let's go into the second post. Add other data, save. Everything is great. Refresh the page once more. And make sure that our new meta fields work perfectly. We implemented the saving. For our code, it should be noted that the functions that generate data fields, that is with the prefix in eCommerce, are functions of eCommerce itself. They are WordPress, and at the moment they work perfectly for us since the eCommerce plugin is activated. But if we send it like this, the body to the server and eCommerce is not yet activated on the server. Then, obviously, these functions will give us an error message and they won't work. So it's worth considering the following fact. You need to either perform a check. Function exists, for example, right here, or run this specific file only when the eCommerce plugin is installed, or generally perform a check to ensure that this entire plugin works if eCommerce is activated. In general, we will take care of this later at this point. Just be aware of this feature. If you use functions in your code that are created by a third-party plugin, you need to perform an additional check on this data. We are finishing the lesson. We have done everything in the admin area to have the content that we will retrieve in the next lesson. We will start developing a block that will only retrieve selected products, and this product will already have the necessary fields that we have just created. See you in the next lesson.